And hey, hats off to you, Matty. And you're either on the gravy train or you're under it. And if you're not watching Wrestling All Day podcast, you're certainly under it.
Wrestling All Day Podcast Nation, what is up? Today is a very special day. Not only is it the first day of summer and it's hot as hell outside, and that car was extremely loud, I just went by, but ladies and gentlemen, we have the one and only one half of the AXW Tag Team Champions, Ed House, with us. Ed, how are you doing?
Great. I am swell. Did I watch Jesus kick the Easter Bunny in your opening vignette, your opening signature?
Yeah, that was from, oh my God, probably about...
Wrestling!
Yeah, that was probably about that had to have been 2019. That had to have been before COVID hit, up in Stroudsburg for, I want to say it was 1CW, but I could be wrong.
That's what happened. We put the Easter Bunny over on Jesus, and we all got COVID. That's how that happened.
I think so. It was really weird, too, because...
The Wuhan lab thing is just a gimmick, brother. That spot specifically is what started COVID.
It was a really weird match, too, because it was supposed to be a manager's battle royale. And then, for some reason, Jesus came out to It's Raining Men, which is a great song. And then after that, we had the Easter Bunny come out. And then after that, Teddy Hart's cat won the match. So...
That's not bad. That's all in a day's work.
Oh, yeah. There's a video somewhere of it. It's fucking phenomenal. But like I said, you are one half of the AXW Tag Team Champions, of course, with Laszlo. And now, given what happened at the last AXW show, the big brawl that happened with you and the Beastmasters and you swinging that giant axe, which is in the intro, by the way. I hope you've seen that.
I did see that. I cringed a little bit because I'm sure the AXW brass will send me another very nice letter about that.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. I seen the video of them sending you the letter. What exactly are they? I know they said that you endangered the fans and the other talent. But what exactly are your plans now going into that? Now that they sent you that letter, how are you going to go about that?
Oh, everybody's going to find out this weekend. That's exactly. I'm pretty good at petty. Everybody seems to forget that we were just defending ourselves, and that we were, attempting to fight fire with fire. And if there's nothing, if the Beastmasters are going to play dirty with their chains, we're going to retaliate. And if that happens, then there might be something that Leslie Daddy and Eddie Baby bring to the table. Yeah, I'm going to find out the hard way. But we'll see. Something Laszlo and I have talked about. Definitely don't want to put fans at risk. But, if there are two giant ball bastards out there who are looking to, I don't know how to say this without swearing.
You can say whatever you want. I don't mind.
So then if they're looking to fuck around, then they're going to find out. Pretty much how we're going to address that situation.
Fair enough. Now, how did the axe thing come about? Because I remember the first time I seen you, that was at the Outbreak show in 2020, I believe. You didn't have the axe then, I don't think.
I may not have been schlepping it around. I tend to leave it places. I'm a little forgetful. The whole thing came about for two reasons. Number one, a good buddy of mine had one, and I thought it was tits. This dude I look up to in the business forever, a guy named John Cannon. He had one, and I thought, that's pretty cool. And he wrestles kind of all these other places, and we never crossed paths. And then lo and behold, outside of our wrestling gym, Mark and Troy Mest's Dio's Dungeon, just happened to be leaning up against the side of the wall right by the front door was this shitty old decrepit axe. I ended up working for WPW, World Professional Wrestling, when Pinky was running it. Got involved with Glenn Osborne and Cremator, Nate Hatred against the Eddie Valentine, Rob Daly, Kingdom of Heaven, Shannon Hunter, and they kind of threw me in, and I was too small to be like a little guy. I was too small to be a big guy, but too big to be a little guy. So I was this hybrid kind of character, and they all were like, "Brother, that's the name of the gimmick, brother. You're gonna be the hybrid," And I didn't know whether to shit around my watch in terms of what I could bring to the table. But I thought, if I bring an axe to the ring, like that could be nifty. And that's what started it. And then I eventually just kind of thought, well, everybody else nobody's bringing anything to the ring anymore. It's all, some gear and stuff like that. But in terms of like gimmick, and then I thought it would just be cool to bring an axe to the ring. And then I thought it would be ridiculous to play it like a guitar. And then I thought it would be ridiculous to call it Jeff because my kid had seen a video of "My name is Jeff" from what is it, one of the 21 Jump Street movies, some clip that he had seen. Because I'm a terrible dad and I let him watch all that trash. And I thought, what, I'll call the axe Jeff, and we'll see what happens. And it was one of those things where it was like people kind of started to like it and they dug it. And then I would get the questions like, why do you have that? Why do you carry that? And it was always, well, I take a lot of back roads to work, kid. Wrestling ain't paying the bills, and I take a lot of back roads to work, and I got to pay them bills. So if trees fall down, I need something to clear the path. And kids would look at me like, I'm not sure if this guy's for real. Pretty sure he's full of shit. And the parents were looking at me like, waiting for their kid to figure out that I'm full of shit. And the kids never did. So I just stuck with that, and that's kind of what I've been lying to the public with ever since. Worked out pretty well so far.
Fair enough. The other thing I want to touch base on, especially with AXW, because you guys work so well together. What's it like working with Laszlo?
It's great. We've been buddies for a while. We went on a trip to, this is 5-Star Pro Wrestling, and I forget who ran it. I want to say Joe Rogers. I could be wrong. I might be right. But they brought myself and Laszlo out. Zach Rain kind of got us the booking, buddy of mine out in Pittsburgh, who is banging a girl I went to high school with. It's his wife. And he hits me up one day out of the blue like, "Hey, I see you know this girl, and she's my wife, and I see you're a worker. Do you want to be friends?" And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, let's be friends." And we've been buddies ever since. So he got us this booking. I kind of know Laszlo a little bit from LCW and Lancaster Championship Wrestling. Thought that he was just some giant douchebag doing a really shitty foreign accent. And then I realized, I don't know, he's really from Hungary. He's fresh off the boat or the plane or wherever the hell he took to get here. And he hardly knows any English. And he learned English by watching Andrew Dice Clay specials. So he's got this very strange accent that I don't know if a lot of other Hungarian people have, but I love it. So we would send him into the stores and the shops, and we would just have him say all the craziest, the most insane, inappropriate things you can imagine to people. Like, yeah, just go in there and ask them if they have two of the, whatever. So he goes, "Oh, yeah, I'm wondering if you have the two, I don't know what they're called, the two of these." And it's this super racist or super homophobic, just worst of the worst thing you could imagine. We're feeding this guy on the road, and keep the car running. He got chased out of a subway. And he's 6'6", 6'5", 6'6", 250 pounds. He's a big dude, and he's broad. He's got a big upper body. And it's just funny to watch him run with his little legs and just run. At the time, he had these little tiny legs. He just run, and we're like, "Oh, why is this guy chasing me? I don't know what's going on." And, with his broken English. And, "What did you guys do?" "Oh, don't worry about it. Let's go. I can't believe that guy got so upset." So we've always entertained this idea of this buddy cop kind of, not gimmick, but dude, if we just went out as us and just did like what we do at the party or at the like a backstage at the show. He's dude, it's so fucking over. Like it would be great. We'd have fun. They would see us having the fun, and we would have all the fun, and we would get the bookings, and we would do this and do that, and we'd get the merch and blah 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 blah. And then finally, we were in a position where I was working for Rob Noxious in Classic Championship Wrestling out of Marysville and Enola with the Marysville Lions Club, and I was like, hey, what do you think about putting like this guy and I together? Because we had wrestled each other a bunch of times, and LCW and PWE, Pro Wrestling Empire, had booked us against each other because we're two relatively big guys, and we're usually the two taller, bigger guys on most rosters. And we have good matches together, but we were like, hey, this could make us really good partners if we kind of run a gimmick, not the right way, but if we can use that to kind of explain why we're teaming up or what got us here. And then we kind of just thought it would be funny if it was the odd couple and he was the foreign, clean cut, good guy, and I'm the lazy, tan, overweight, overeating American. Like I'm trying to get him into a strip club, and he doesn't understand why you have to tip. We came up with all these ridiculous ideas for small vignettes and promos and stuff, and at that point it was just, well, this is all great, but we need to try this out. And the first match we had, we went over. We not go over, but we got the gimmick over in Classic Championship Wrestling in Marysville, and it was really awkward. And part of it, I think, was because we were wrestling a really over tag team. We were wrestling the Truth Serum, and I mean, you could have had Hitler and Mussolini as a tag team, and they'd have gotten cheered against these guys. It's a really good group of dudes, really good workers, and it was tough. It was really tough. We both made some. I know I made some faux pas where I thought, I wouldn't. Probably shouldn't have done this. Probably shouldn't have said this. Probably should have tried this. Probably shouldn't have tried that. And then he had got some new gear. I got gear to match it. We didn't look like we belonged together. But I think now we definitely have it figured out where, if anything short of wearing like hoochie daddy shorts to the ring, I think we kind of got it figured out. But the whole thing kind of started out as a joke where we thought, this could be fun if we could just do it. But who's gonna put us together? Who's gonna do? Brother, don't you like book a show with fucking Kevin Murphy and all these fucking guys at this pro wrestling, whatever the fuck you call yourselves now? Brother, hook it up. Oh, Bubba, it's going to be you and Shane Mellis as a tag team. Well, that's not what we fucking talked about, and I love Shane to death. And Shane and I have really good chemistry because we're basically the same person. He's just better at me than everything. But we got the chance to run with this at AXW in Hamburg. I came to the ring. I think I saved him the first time with a hot dog in my mouth. I think I was eating a hot dog, and I ran to the ring to save him. And I'm bumping. I'm throwing lines at guys, and I've got the hot dog in my mouth, and I'm chewing, and I'm hitting the guy, and I put it back in, and I slant. Something like that happened. And it went over really, really well. And we've kind of got this, not so much like Starsky and Hutch, but kind of Starsky and Hutch, Kit and David, Riggs and Murtaugh, this kind of buddy cop personality thing that we have going on. And I'm really excited to see where we can take it and all the kind of goofy shit we can get into. But the whole thing started out as one big joke of we should just do this. And then I was going through a divorce, so we would go out. We'd get drinks. We'd go out. We'd hit some bars, hit some clubs, and it wasn't like so much the Night at the Roxbury guys or like two wild and crazy guys from like SNL, but it was definitely like we're two buddies and like we were going out to pick up chicks. And I was like, like this. I don't know. This could be. We might be able to do something here. We might, we'd have a lot of fun and we'd talk a lot of shit. And then it was like, no, we can definitely, if we rein it in and PG it up a lot, a lot, we can really have some fun. And we've been lucky enough to do it in Hamburg, which is cool.
Well, like I said, last time I seen you guys, I couldn't really see you guys because there was too many people out there. There was the security out there. The Beast Smash was going crazy. Thankfully, though, I'm just standing in the back of the venue, just holding my camera up. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get something good here. And of course, just swing the axe at him, and I'm like, there it is. There it is. That's perfect.
See the way she goes. But like I said, if when the level of fuck around has been reached, then there's a counteraction of find out that has to be reached, and that's usually where El Jefe comes into play. Most people will respect the fact that I'm 6'4", 280. Everybody respects me when I have an axe in my hands and I'm swinging it like a motherfucker. And that show was case in point.
So about AXW, what is it like working with AXW, and how does it differ from a few years ago when it was Outbreak?
It sucks. No, I'm just kidding. It's interesting. That place, I don't know if it's the building, but both companies, Vox was really onto something when he started that whole thing. And it was cool that we were, I've worked in that building, both Hamburg and the Temple Fire Company for other promotions. I think I'm close to filling it. And then here comes little, greasehead Ryan Vox, and he's pumping fucking, we got to get more chairs, and, the fire marshal's going to shut us down because we can't have that many people in the building. Wrestling in Hamburg has always been tricky because I don't know if the town wanted wrestling in there for so long. The rent for the building was outrageous. The cost to run it, there's a lot of capital you needed to open the doors, turn the lights on, and it just didn't it didn't fill. It didn't make sense to do that if you didn't have the right people then to bring in. And Hamburg's a real old school town. They don't care about the latest Ring of Honor or the hottest guy off of some super hot pro like indie fed. If you put Greg Valentine and Tito Santana, you're gonna get a couple hundred people to show up because that's what that town remembers. As those older folks have kids and those kids hit the town, then you put Rob Van Dam in that building and Scotty 2 Hotty like they're gonna do in September. You're gonna get shitload of people. But it was really tricky for a while because you had the old heads who didn't care that this guy was coming and this guy was coming. They were, one day I had the Histax Calhoun was wrestling there. Yeah, he'd come out in his bibs and his overalls and he'd go, he was a man now. Don't you remember, Lassie? Yeah, there he goes. Yep, and they're all old Dutchies. So that's what they attributed to wrestling. So it was tough to sit through there, and it's it's nothing against those old ECW guys like your Douglas and your Just Incredible, but like that Hamburg town, they didn't understand any of that. They didn't understand hardcore wrestling, and they didn't like it. Yeah. It was tough to sell that. And then the fire company probably wanted nothing. Oh yeah, you could do it, but it's going to cost you an extra $1,800. Whatever the hell the case may be. Now that Kevin Kelly's come in and taken over, Jared Strunk and Antonio are kind of still from Outbreak and carried over. That style is still the same. A couple of nice things that are different is there's a lot more of a focus on the overall presentation. It's a little more old school. Baby faces in one locker room, heels in the other. Does a couple things, right? It forces people to fucking get there on time. You work your shit out. But also, you might be in a position where you gotta go to work and you gotta figure some shit out there. And there's not a whole lot of guys I think who can do that. And it's tough. It's tough to, and I had a really good match with Ricky Reyes because Ricky Reyes is the fucking man. And I told Flan, I go, brother, I can't remember a whole lot of shit, but I think if we get out there and something happens, we'll be okay. I'm relatively good at figuring this out as we're going along, and if they're not reacting to this, then we can call an audible. He goes, well, it's our job to think of shit that they react to, and that really stuck with me when it comes to planning your match out. It's like, yeah, that's great. You go out there and call on the fly, but if you can't think of something to get them involved and like keep them captivated and keep them in the match, then what are you going to do out there when you're going 100 miles an hour and it's live and the red light's on and the shit's coming? What are you going to think of in the moment that's any better? And that was like, wow, I'm kicking the fucking nuts. Yeah, that's why he's the fucking man, carried me right through the goddamn match. Told a lot of jokes, talked a lot of bullshit, and we had a really good match. But he was 100% right. So there's a little bit more of a focus on some of that. I mean, overall, I mean, there hasn't been a whole lot of change. I mean, some of the boys are swapped out, but it's nice to see that come through. You know, you've got your main 7 or 8 guys who are, you know, going to be there involved in some sort of angle. And then you've got some new blood and some fresh meat that comes through. And they've got a lot more folks in positions that are there. Like, there's a lot of guys willing to help out who are there. Like, Sean Donovan was there for a bunch of shows. Not on the card, not booked. Dude's been around forever and is super smart. And he's there just fucking helping out and giving guys pointers and agenting matches and shit like that. You know, Bob Evans is here. Bob's doing the same thing. You know, Bob's out there giving his right. Bob's out there being Uncle Bob, and everybody's getting better. Everybody's having better matches, and it's really nice to see that everybody's involved in making sure that you're heard. And well, this is what we're thinking. You guys go out and do it. Hey, I've got a question. Hey, what do you have? And there's never been a you got to talk to this guy, and you got to talk to that guy, which all of us have fucking been through. And then the next thing you know, the first 4 matches all have fucking hot cross body, roll through, hook the fucking tights, 1, 2, 3 finishes because nobody's fucking talking to anybody. But it's nice to know that there's a hierarchy, you know, and it's very clear. And it's not that it wasn't before, but it's nice that that's continued.
Yeah. Now we talked about the Hamburger Field House, and there's so many historic things that happen in there. What is it like every time you go out there, knowing that you've wrestled in such a historic building in the world of professional wrestling?
I wonder if it was as hot then as it is now, or if it's as hot now as it was then. The building is ungodly, but it's cool. It's cool to come from a place where a lot of cool shit went down. You know, Vince's first on-screen gig was in that building, and all the guys, you know, your first couple of Mount Rushmore guys, Hogan, like all those guys wrestled in that building and came through town and hit this street and that place. And I'd gotten really lucky to do some extra work for WWE in 13, and I was sitting with a buddy of mine, and we were kind of sitting there backstage eating, because that's all they tell you to do is don't fucking talk to anybody, and just wait in catering, and if they need you, they'll come get you. So we're there stuffing our faces and trying to figure out how to sneak all this delicious food out of here. And like, of all the people to come sit and shoot the shit with us was Mick Foley. He's asked, "Oh, where are you kids from?" You know, and I'm, "Oh, one guy's from Detroit," and I'm from Hamburg, and boss's first gig was in Hamburg. I'm like, yeah, it's like, we know, without like being a douchebag, because everybody, you know, like, I knew. And it was like, oh man, I had a lot of good matches in that building. I know, I've seen your shit. Like, you don't have to tell me. I've fucking seen it 40 times, you know. But it's cool. It's cool to be from that place. It's cool to be in that building where it's tied to a lot of cool history. But yeah, I do wonder, like, if those guys bitched about the heat the way that we bitched about the heat in like August. And it's nice that we did the Fan Fest and the big show in September, and we're having the show before that in July. You know, the summer hasn't been too bad, and I'm hoping it stays that way. Yeah, it's a long day for the people, right? And the other thing that's nice is the shorter card, right? So 10 or 11 matches is out the window, but you know, 7 to 8 matches is right where we can hit about 2.5 hours, and we all get the fuck out of there.
Yeah. I remember my first Outbreak show, I believe it was July of 2021, and it probably was about 90 degrees outside.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got inside, I said, damn, it's colder outside.
145 under the lights, brother. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, easily. That night, actually, that was the first Outbreak show I seen. This is another question I want to ask you. That night, you semi-retired. Now, how does that Ed House from a couple years ago differ from the Ed House now?
The Ed House now has a kid who asked, "Daddy, when are you going to start wrestling again?" I was getting divorced. I was going through custody, and I was at a point where I'd much rather spend my weekends being dad than Ed House. And I also didn't want to cheat my new girlfriend at the time, and I didn't want to cheat my boy out of like quality time because daddy had to go wrestle. Or hey, you're going to stay with daddy's girlfriend, or hey, you're going to be with mommy for another weekend because daddy has to wrestle in fucking West Virginia or Scranton or some crazy shit like that. I was a little beaten up and banged up. I was getting a little close to 300 pounds again, and the whole thing just really wasn't feeling like I didn't need it. I didn't need it the way I needed it 5 years ago or 10 years ago, where I absolutely had to do it. I defined myself as a pro wrestler. And it's nice now that I'm in a spot where I can be a little picky, be a little choosy. If I have one booking every month or 2 bookings a month, like I'm totally cool with that. And then ironically, I started taking work, and I took all this work, and it was on weekends. My kid was with his fucking mom. So I jumped back in to do all this, and I'm just getting my ass kicked, and my kid's playing with his fucking, stepbrothers in the pool. And, it's one of those things I look back on, and it's funny. But he's gotten to come to a couple shows, and, since then, and it's cool that he's into it and he's interested in it. And I think he still thinks like, man, my dad's a wrestler. This is so cool. And my dad's at house and blah, 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 and all that shit. And it's really neat to see him experience all that, because it's not an experience that a lot of kids get, that their dad or their mom does this crazy kind of side hustle or has this really strange hobby. And it involves, thumbtacks and axes and spandex and spray paint and vulgar language and nudity and all this crazy shit that goes along with it. But that's the reason.
Oh, one question here. Hold on one sec. Look in the comments. Oh, speaking of Antonio, there he is.
Oh, there he is. There's the boss.
There he is. Hello, Antonio. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're enjoying this heat. Hopefully you're not like me, sweating my ass off sitting here doing nothing.
I got the fucking wind machine down here. I'm sweating like a pre-treat and a hot dog at a Little League game.
So also, on top of you being a wrestler, on top of you being a super dad, you're also an artist. And I've seen some of your stuff on Instagram, and I've also seen some of the stuff on Instagram that got you flagged before. If there's anything you want to talk about for that?
Yeah. So I started drawing. I mean, I was in 2nd grade. I think I did it to impress a girl who then I think later went on to do porn. And we chat every now and again about like our kids and family shit, which is kind of crazy. But I totally started to draw just because I thought it would be a good way to talk to girls. And I can very distinctly remembering a girl who will remain nameless, how to spell her name. And then I made a little Valentine thing for her. And it was like in the fucking, under the desk it went. We had the big desk that lifted up and you put all your shit in it. But that was like 1st, 2nd grade. And then it was always something I did just to kind of like pass some time and, stay out of trouble and keep my head down and shit. And then all my buddies were getting ready for college, and I'm not a tech guy. I'm not a Votech dude or any of that shit. I really don't think that business is what I want to get involved in. But I could definitely go for I would definitely go to school and learn more about this art shit, because that's pretty interesting. So I spent 4 years at Kutztown, learned a shitload of technique and art history. And then I didn't really feel like I knew what I wanted to produce. And I felt like good art comes from things people know really well. And I knew wrestling really well. So, and I felt like I had the right to talk about it. I didn't feel like I was going to talk about the downfall of Western civilization and how the invention of the fucking knitting press was going to put thousands of fucking people out of work in fucking Boston. I didn't feel like I could do any of that. I wasn't really interested in super realistic representational work for two reasons. It's a skill that I don't fucking possess. That's a whole other level of manipulation and focus and patience that is lost on me. But I also felt like if I wanted to do that, I would just take a photograph. And I'd taken some photography, and that's actually what got me started in wrestling. Was some of that. But I did feel like I could talk about wrestling, and I enjoyed the duality of it, the struggle of, you know, good and evil and positive and negative and conflict. And I always responded really well to that. I always really responded well to strength and power. I really enjoyed, you know, like weightlifting and like the bodybuilding magazines, just giant fucking dudes, just massive fucking men, which I thought like was insane. Like, how do you put all that time and effort, and like, how do you have a life when you do all that? So I used both of those, and then I thought, man, it would be really cool. Like, how do I tie this into the whole art history thing? And I mean, all art histories is talking about religion, because those are the only motherfuckers who had enough money to commission art, was the goddamn church. So there was this, I was like, oh, well, you know, the duality and the realism of wrestling and the realism of religion. And I just started thinking, well, you know, maybe I can work with some of that. So I started using wrestling as a backdrop with these old, you know, Italian masters and Italian Renaissance kind of compositions, which is really what interested me in college, was the composition, how you put it together. And your subject matter and the style, it doesn't mean shit. It's all fuck all. But it's where you put things and how you direct people's eye through your picture and what you want them to focus on and when you want them to focus on that. It's no different than putting a match together. It's, all right, well, this is how we'll work the open. This is what the finish is. You know, it's here. And maybe this match doesn't mean a whole lot at face value, but in the grand scheme of things, it's going to fucking set the tone for this big fucking blow off at the end, brother. You know, so using all that, I started working on a series of like Jacob wrestling the Angel. And it's been going on like 20 years now, and I haven't done anything with it but stockpile shit in my basement. But it's interesting to play with that and to use some, you know, pull some things out of wrestling. Like the thing behind me is, you know, when Triple H tore his quad. And I remember seeing that image, and I'm thinking like, man, like that's like such a powerful image. And then I remember being in our history, seeing the Lamentation of Christ by like Giotto. And I thought, wow, looks like fucking Triple H getting carried up the ramp. So I've had this idea for like 15 years in my head of doing this giant, you know, like this giant piece of that that's all tongue in cheek and messes with the reality of wrestling and the reality of religion, and far more advanced than I ever thought I'd end up getting and talking about, and bringing rats into the picture and the symbolism there, as opposed to, you know, the booty, the little angel babies and, you know, all that shit, but using rats and having that, you know, once you have to tell someone what that means in wrestling, and then they're, oh, that's all, that's Jesus wouldn't do that. Well, he wasn't fucking white either. So nobody's ready for that fucking discussion. But it was neat. So I kind of just decided to, you know, if I can continue to make work that I enjoy and that looks cool, because that's all I want to do. So I want to make images that look cool and they look fun. And, you know, if you're hip to this jive, then maybe you see a little more in there. But if not, you're just looking at a picture that's cool. And if you absolutely hate it, then we're doing our job, right? Because I think good art evokes conversation. You know, if you can tell me what you don't like about it, then we can have some conversation, and that's all great. But and that's one thing I got from my time in college that really helped out was, you know, art's pretty cutthroat. You'll have folks who will just shit on you for the sake of shitting on you. So you got to kind of pick and choose who you're going to listen to and what direction you're going to push your work. You know, you'll have 3 or 4 guys, and it's the same in the business. You'll have 2 or 3 guys who you want to watch your match. You're going to go to, hey, brother, how's the match? You know, what do you think? Oh, good shit, kid. You know, fucking pat on the arm and off they fucking go. That's not the guy you listen to. You listen to the guy who's like, not bad. Opener was a little long. You probably should have done this. Probably should have done that. The finish was fine. You hit all your fucking spots, and nobody's hurt, right? Good shit. All right, yeah. That's that's the speedy Uncle Bob version. But then all right, like, how was it? Get a chair. Those are the guys. You want to go to, and you can get that time with Bob, and you get the other one or two guys that like. All right, you did this and you shouldn't have done that. You did these 3 things. They all look like shit. Don't do those again. You did this really well. Find a way to work that into every match. Then you did this. It didn't make any fucking sense because then later you did that or you didn't touch it later on. Yeah, you didn't go for a fucking pinfall in the match. You're the babyface. You're supposed to try to win. You didn't pin him until the very end. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? And all those things, and it's shit. And you've got to be able to take all that and then go, okay, cool, thanks, appreciate it. And then work on it and build it. In college, it was a lot of late nights, early mornings, long days, and then you put your fucking piece up on the wall and you sit back. Yes, you'll be good. And your professor comes over and goes, "Hey, you thought of putting it upside down because it looks like shit this way, And you're like, asshole! I worked all fucking day and night on this fucking thing, and you put it upside down. Then all of a sudden you see a different angle, or a different point of view, or a different kind of, fuck, this guy, he might be onto something. And no shit, that's why he's a fucking teacher. And you need those people. And I got that criticism, really early on in college, where it wasn't a big deal. If somebody said they didn't like my shit, like, all right, well, what don't you like about it? What can I do to make it better? Yeah. And the folks that can tell you are the folks you want to listen to. And the folks that just, you fucking quit, kid, you fucking suck. That's great, but go fuck yourself. You're not helping anybody. We're like, hey, what would you tell me to help draw you money? If they can't answer that question, then their fucking opinion don't mean shit. And I'm also a believer of, you can learn just as much from your fucking top tier, whoever your top favorite, your Brett, Shawn, Hunter, Undertaker, Ric Flair, fucking Hulk Hogan, as you can from the guys who are at the bottom of the fucking barrel who shit the bed every night. Like, you can learn just as much from either one of those guys, whether it's the good stuff or, hey, maybe don't do any of this stuff. Don't take this bump this way. Don't fucking sell over here. Just these 3 guys will beat the shit out of you. Fucking pay attention a little bit. You can learn just as much from all of those guys as you can from reading a fucking book or a magazine or this one guy and all that shit.
Yeah. It's actually a very, very good way of looking at that.
Well, yeah, it's the only it's the only thing that I can kind of use to make sense out of it all. Otherwise you go fucking mad. You start making, if I was painting, I was making work for somebody else and it wasn't what I wanted to do. I had to appease somebody else. And in the art world, you can do that, but you better have a good fucking toolbox. And wrestling's kind of the same way. If I start wrestling for me, then the folks who are buying the fucking tickets, I don't want to see that. I want to see this. So you've got to be able to adapt and adjust and know when they're not buying it, and then be able to call an audible and change it up. Or going back to Ricky, you got to think of enough good shit to put into that match so they don't fucking start doing this halfway through your match. All that shit.
Fair enough. I got another comment here from Antonio. He says he's doing okay, just working on the Fan Fest and a 9/16 show. Oh, and the new AXW Tag Team title designs are about finished, hoping to have them for the 9/16 show.
Yes. Tell him, Antonio, remember, we talked about having a big dick right in the middle of mine, and Laszlo would have a smaller dick in his, but his name would be bigger. So I think that's in his contract, I think. The other art thing you alluded to was Cocktober, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I do, when I started hopping on Instagram for the first time, I realized that there's a big community of artists and comic book artists, and that's what really got me into this thing in the first place, was comic book art, Power Rangers, X-Men, all the big cartoon shit. And they would do a thing every October called Inktober, where they would do a pen and ink drawing of whatever the fuck. every day. I'm like, Inktober doesn't make any sense. It doesn't even fucking rhyme with October. It should at least fucking rhyme, you know. I thought, well, Cocktober, just draw fucking 30 dicks. 31 fucking dicks, brother. And then I thought, you know, I should fucking try that. And I made it through the first year. And then I tried 4 more years after that. I got my Instagram account shut down 3 times.
Oh
and I made it through 2 more years. Not last year, but the year before, I kind of shit the bed. I got to like 7 or 8 days, and I just ran out of steam. And that was all going to be horror themed. And that was the first year I thought, oh, I'll do like all horror icons. So it was like Michael Jackson's Thriller cock. There was a Pinhead cock, an alien cock, which I'm super fucking proud of, a xenomorph. And I know what you did that summer cock. A trick or treat cock, which like my ex-wife's sister, my sister-in-law, was a really big fan of the Trick or Treat movie with the little kid Sam with the fucking stabby thing, and Brian Cox is a sheriff. Brian Cox he's not the sheriff. He's like the crazy old guy. But Brian Cox is the fucking man. So I did one of those cocks. And I got to like 8 or 9 of these things, and I ran out of fucking gas. I did a Carrie cock, all covered in and then last year I did a little bit of. I planned the whole month out, but I tried to make it like attainable and feasible, and I didn't want to get like too bogged down into one thing. So I would do I did a Snapchat, an Instagram, TikTok, a Twitter, James Bond, Trump, Biden, Mortal Kombat stuff, Street Fighter stuff, Major League Baseball, WWE logos. I tried to make it a little bit more commercialized, and I made it the whole way through. I was really fucking proud. I have a bunch of lists here of all stuff that are potential, Cocktober candidates. I think this is X-Men, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Marvel, and then DC, that are all potential candidates for Cocktober. And I'm not sure if I want to do, take, 5 or 6 from each one, and then leave myself a couple of days with some wiggle room. Like if I want to do a Betty Boop cock, or like I don't know, like a fucking washing machine cock. Like I didn't know where I wanted to go, but if I was like, oh man, this would be a great fucking idea, but I didn't think of it then. But I've got some space on the back end, I could just sneak it in. Like I did a Grinch cock last year. That was a lot of fun. That was a suggestion from a gal I work with.
Mm-hmm.
It was the whole thing was kind of organic, and I really enjoyed that, where I could have some wiggle room, and I didn't want to tie myself. I don't want to handcuff myself too much right away. But yeah, that's that in a nutshell. That's Cocktober. So every day, 31 dicks for 31 days, or until my Instagram or my fucking Facebook or my TikTok gets shut down. And then I thought about doing like an OnlyFans, and either like not charging people or charging people $1. And it was such a hassle, because you have to provide tax info and all that shit.
Yeah.
And I don't know how these whores do it. It's such a I only say that because it's not made for me to be successful, and I'm bitter about it. I don't know how it's a lot of work on the front end to put into that. The back end stuff, the material is a material, but to get in it's a lot of shit that I don't want to deal with, and I don't have the patience to deal with. So I just decided, fuck it, and we'll go as long as we can on the other social medias. And if worst comes to worst, or if it gets enough interest, then maybe I'll do that, and then go to a paid route, and then offer some prints, where you can buy an 8x10 or a 10x10 or a 12x12 print of a specific fucking day or something like that. Or I like doing a Cocktober calendar, all the different merch ideas. But then who's going to want a calendar of cock drawings, and surprisingly, a lot of people have, because wrestling fans are fucking weird. Thank God.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people have reached out like, hey, I would definitely fucking, like, as long as it's not like a picture of your dick, like, a lot of people, like, I would definitely, like, if they're cool drawings, and like, I would definitely buy one of those.
Yeah.
Like, thanks, Dad, but, you know, you could just fucking buy a fucking painting, too, and, you know, so. But that's Cocktober in a nutshell.
I don't think I've ever spoken to anybody in any kind of conversation where I've heard the word cock so many times.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's definitely it's up there. I think I don't know if there's a world record, but I could come close.
Well, check that out. I don't know if Guinness Book of World Records will put that in there, but we can call up and find out.
How many times has cock been said in a podcast, guys? Yeah, you might want to make a trip down here.
Well, before I wrap things up, we talked about you being an artist, talked about you being an axe wielding, maybe not maniac. I'm not trying to get my ass whooped, but but maybe we'll just go crazy. We'll say crazy.
That'll work. Crazy.
What is next for AXW? Well, at least for you and AXW and Laszlo, and anybody else who happens to get in your way, especially if you're brandishing that axe.
I mean, at this point, I'm trying to keep the job. You know what I mean? However, I don't think that there's. I mean, we're willing to take on all comers and all challengers. I mean, that's you know, when you've got the championship, that's what the job is you take who they put in front of you, and if folks want to fuck around, then folks go find out. So that's kind of where and I don't want to speak for Liz Daddy, but I think he would say the same thing, which is with a couple more bubbas and some old country, you know, sayings put in there. My Hungarian brother, who hates when I call him the Hungarian because it's like a little Nazi-ish. But it's like, dude, but you're a white guy and you've got like the brown blonde hair, like just because it was. He's like, no, Bubba, don't call me that. I go, but it's I'm putting over your giant cock. Like, how do we not? It's the elephant in your pants, you know. And I love it. Every chance I get to call him that, I call him that, and he cringes, and I love it. It makes me so happy. You know, but we're you know, we're looking for a fight, and if folks want to fight, then we'll fight, and that's what we're there for.
Fair enough. Well, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, you can see Ed House in a fight this Saturday at the Hamburg Fieldhouse for AXW. Make sure you guys get out there. Make sure you guys get your tickets.
Make sure
it's going to be a shirt. One more time.
Make sure you buy his new shirt. He's got to pay those gimmicks called bills, baby.
Well, there you go. Make sure you get out there. Make sure you buy a shirt, and make sure you watch Ed and Laszlo do what they do best, and that is whoop the opponent's asses. And Beastmasters, if you guys ever watch this, please don't come after me. I'm just a boy, you know. But y'all got your work cut out for you.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on, brother.
I appreciate you coming on. I know you're a busy man, and I greatly appreciate it. I know it's cutting it close to show week, so I greatly appreciate you coming on. Before we go, we have a comment here from Devin Hamilton saying, hello, Mr. Ed House.
Big Dick Devin. My man. He's a good dude. Devin's a good dude, man.
He's going to screen record that and show all of his friends.
Probably. And you know what? I wonder if he snapped me. No, he did not. Shit. I should message him that. I'll have to snap him. I'll draw him a picture of a dick and I'll snap it to him. He'll love it. God, please don't do that.
Alrighty, but again, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come here and chat with me of all people. I greatly appreciate it. Make sure you guys, again, Saturday, check it out. Any place else they can find you in the next couple of weeks or months?
You know what? My schedule is open as a fat girl's mouth at a buffet pie eating contest, dude. I got nothing going on. In the summer months, I like to sit by the pool, drink some booze, eat some mozzarella sticks, and just work on the tank. I'm
with you on that one.
That's right.
Alrighty, folks, that's about it for the Wrestling All Day podcast with Ed House. Ed, thank you again for joining us. This is probably at least one of my favorite interviews of all time. Again, especially hearing the word cock about 97 times definitely makes the most interesting interview.
One of the top 50.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. But again, thank you so much for the Wrestling All Day podcast. I'm Matty Smackdown, and I'll catch you all later. Thank you guys so much for watching.